What exactly do people look for when they have already seen everything the world has to offer? This question haunted my mind for many years as travelers from all walks of life arrived at my doorstep. Why do they come to this quiet corner of the earth, and what do they truly expect to find in a man like me? I spent countless hours reflecting on who I am and where my purpose lies in this vast and noisy world. For a long time, I simply could not find a clear answer to satisfy my own curiosity or theirs. The mystery remained unsolved until one spring morning when a woman visited me for the fourth time. I looked into her eyes and asked her directly why she kept returning to this place of silence. She paused for a long moment of deep reflection before she whispered that she came for nothing at all. That simple word changed my entire perspective on what it means to be a human being in the modern age. Since that day, some people have started calling me Mr. Nothing, and I find that title quite wonderful. It is a perfect description because I truly feel that I have nothing of my own to give to the world. I do not possess secret wealth or complex theories to hand out to those who are suffering or lost. Instead, I only have the capacity to share the things that I deeply love with those who care to listen. This realization happened right here in the stillness of the countryside where the earth meets the sky. We live in a time where everyone wants to be something or someone important, but there is power in being nothing. When you strip away the titles and the noise, you finally begin to see the truth of your own existence. By becoming nothing, you allow the infinite peace of the universe to finally flow through your weary soul. But how can being nothing actually lead you to finding everything you have ever wanted? Does the word meditation make you think of a mysterious mountaintop or an ancient temple hidden in the clouds? Many people believe this practice is a secret reserved only for those who travel to the far corners of India. But I have discovered over 60 years of practice that the truth is much closer than your own shadow. Meditation is not a performance, but a natural state of being that is available to every single human heart. It is a two-sided coin that can transform the way you see the world and how you feel within yourself. The first side is the inner turn, where we use a mantra to discover the vast silent space in our soul. Yet there is a second side that is just as vital, and we call this the outer turn of pure attention. This is where your spiritual life meets the physical world through the simple work of your own two hands. Think about the way our mothers used to sit for hours quietly knitting or sewing by the warm fireplace. They were practicing a wonderful form of natural meditation without ever needing to give it a fancy name. When you knit a sweater or sew a button, you must pay full attention or the stitch will surely go wrong. Consider the old wooden pews in a country church where a man once worked for days with a sharp chisel. He was not just carving wood, but he was pouring his entire existence into every curve and every line. This is the essence of tender, loving care, where your mind becomes as quiet as the wood itself. When you are cutting vegetables for dinner, you must give the knife and the carrot your total devotion. If your mind wanders to your bills or your boss, the sharp blade will quickly remind you to stay present. Our modern world is plagued by an out-of-control mind that is pulled in 1,000 different directions. We have forgotten how to hit the nail on the head because we are looking at everything except the nail. True craftsmanship is dying because we have lost the ability to love the simple task that is in front of us. When you love what you are doing, you do not need to struggle to find peace because peace finds you. But why is it that we find it so difficult to stay present even when we are doing something we love? Have you ever wondered why your head feels so heavy with thoughts that you can never seem to turn off? We often treat our minds as the master of our lives instead of the simple tool they were meant to be. I have come to realize over 8 decades that the human mind is really just a mental digestive system. It spends its entire day chewing on every piece of information that enters through your eyes and your ears. It digests the morning news, and it grinds through the words someone said to you 20 years ago. This robotic process happens by itself, just like your stomach works on the food you ate for breakfast. You do not need to tell your heart to beat, and you do not need to tell your brain to think thoughts. The trouble begins when we become so lost in the chewing that we forget who is actually doing the eating. These constant thoughts are like thick gray clouds that gather and swirl across the horizon of your soul. Sometimes the storm is so loud and the fog is so dense that you completely forget the sun exists. You might spend your whole life looking at the clouds and believing that the gray sky is the only reality. Many people waste their precious energy trying to fight the wind or trying to push the clouds away. But you cannot stop a storm by shouting at it, and you cannot stop a mind by trying to control it. Instead of fighting the weather, I have learned a much simpler trick that anyone can practice today. I simply decided to get a bit bored with the noise in my head because it is so incredibly repetitive. When you realize that your worries are just a loop of old recordings, you naturally stop paying attention. Imagine stepping onto a small airplane that is designed to take you far above the chaos of the earth. As the engines roar and you lift off, you begin to see the tops of those dark clouds from a distance. Suddenly you break through the ceiling and you are met with an infinite blue sky that has no end. Up here there is no wind and there is no noise because you have finally reached the space of silence. The clouds are still there below you, but they can no longer touch the peace that you have found. This is what happens in the depths of true meditation when you finally fall awake to a higher life. You realize that you are not the cloud, but you are the vast sky that holds the entire universe. But if this peace is always there, why do we still feel so separated from everything around us? Why is it that every wild creature on this earth instinctively runs away when it catches sight of a human being? This question has followed me like a shadow across many lonely fields and silent forests for many years. It is a source of profound shame to realize that our presence is so often a signal of fear to nature. We walk through the world encased in a clumsy and heavy armor that we call the human ego. This ego is the monster within us that constantly demands to be the center of its own little universe. It is the part of us that believes we are separate from the grass and the trees and the birds. When you listen to your own tongue, you will notice how often it says the words, I and me and mine. Every time you utter those 3 small words, you are building a brick wall between yourself and life. You are creating a prison of separation where you are the only prisoner and also the only guard. We have forgotten that we are not just a mind in a body, but we are also a spirit in the world. The ego makes us feel as though we are entitled to everything while we belong to absolutely nothing. It is this very separation that causes the deep anxiety and the restlessness that plagues our modern age. We are like lost sheep who have wandered so far from the fold that we no longer recognize our home. But the way back to the source is not through a complicated map or a difficult journey of the mind. If you truly wish to find the peace that surpasses all understanding, you must look exactly where you stand. Stop your wandering thoughts and simply place your two bare feet firmly upon the cool green grass. Feel the solid and unchanging weight of the earth as it supports your entire body without any effort. The earth is never restless, and it never asks for anything in return for holding you up today. It is the ultimate rock of safety that has been waiting for you to return to its silent embrace. When you connect with the ground, you begin to realize that you are not a fragment, but a part of a whole. In this moment of pure physical attention, the noisy ego finally loses its power over your soul. You are no longer a person trying to be important, but you are a part of the infinite creation itself. The stillness you have been searching for in books and videos is waiting right there beneath your heels. You do not need to be a saint or a hero to touch the ground and find the silence of God. But as the body fades and the world changes, what is it that truly remains of us in the end? What remains of a man when the sun finally begins to set on his 85 years of life? I look into the mirror and I see a body that is slowly fading away like a mist in the morning. This physical frame is destined to return to the dust of the fields that I have loved for so long. Yet within this decaying shell there is a presence that does not know the meaning of old age. I call this the I Am, and it is a light that burns brighter now than it ever did in my youth. You must not fear the passing of time or the quiet approach of the end of your own long journey. Life is simply a school where we learn our lessons until we are finally ready to graduate into the light. Be patient with yourself and continue to love the world, even when it feels heavy and very strange. Above all else, you must give your full attention to the miracle of being alive, right here and now. Peace is not a place that you will find tomorrow, but it is the silent space where you already stand. Will you choose to step out of the noise and finally come home to the stillness that is waiting for you?